We're talking about people's vibes.
I was talking
I love
about
it.
well, people's vibes, and it's you know, ever since I was a kid, you could, you know, there's certain people that you're attracted to, and not in any sexual way or anything. It's just you gravitate to certain people, and then you are repelled by certain people. And I did not never understood that until the people I real, you know, I'm an introvert by nature, and it's very hard for this is easier than me going to the chamber and handing out business cards and being all, you know, hey, you know, because it's not real, and being fake for me is painful. So I don't want to talk. I never like talking about the weather, talking about, you know, some college game that I never watched. Like, how about the tide, roll tide? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know anything about that. So for me to pretend to talk about it is just painful. So this is cool for me because I can tell you what I really feel, and you know. But I notice that sometimes I get repelled by certain people, and me pushing through that and trying to make it work because it's always bad. So after 50 years, you learn to trust your gut. And if I'm not going to be rude to you, but I'm just, you know, hey, won't force it. Okay, so there's certain people that you're drawn to, and you should kind of explore that. They have here with some chiropractic beliefs. Chiropractic, and a lot of you like, well, he fixes backs.
Vaccination.
Huh?
Vaccination.
And vaccination is one of them. We feel that the body is a self-regulating, self-healing organism. You don't need anything else. You don't need any medication. That would be saying, I think the big guy made us perfect. And but and I know everybody has their own beliefs about God and everything, but I think there is a higher power, and I think your higher power made you perfect. Perfect. You don't need anything. And you know what? You're supposed to be healthy. That's the way it is. If I were to cut myself, what happens? I would bleed. But ultimately I will heal. And if I don't heal, it's not because I'm faulty or defective or anything. There is a problem with my immune system, or my body does not recognize what's happening there. That's it. There's a communication issue. So in chiropractic, we believe that communication travels through the nervous system. And the nervous system can, since we have a spine, the spinal cord is encased in your spine, and since it's movable, because otherwise we'd be stiff, it's movable, it can go out of place and put pressure on your nervous system. So maybe that communication doesn't come through. That is when you start having issues, health issues. Like if you start having, for instance, heartburn or reflux, we always would check in between your shoulder blades, because that's where the nerves to those organs go. So, and notice I haven't, no one's talking about back pain or anything. So that's where I focus. Getting back to the kind of the core. I believe that if we were to remove every blockage in your spine, we have your nervous system free and communicating to everything. There's no reason why you shouldn't be healthy. Now, you've got to eat good. You've got to drink clean, good water and all that stuff. You got to think good thoughts, because you can create a disease. You can be all, life sucks and all this stuff, and you can create sickness. And you go around, there's plenty of those people. All right. So if you do all these good things, you should always also have a nervous system that's clear of interference, and that's where I come in. That's where her uncle comes in. That's what we do. Okay. So just by thinking that, we're weird. That's a fringe. Because you know what? Popular thought is, you got something wrong, pop a pill, man. Go on. All right. But everything that you put in your mouth, in your body, has an effect. Okay? Talk about chemistry. You're just, you're a big old bag of chemical reactions. And everything that you put in there has a reaction. So don't think that that aspirin you're taking is only going to the, to the headache. It's going everywhere. That muscle relaxer that you're taking for tight muscles, your heart is a muscle. Your digestive system is muscles. So it's not just going to, to the, oh, my neck is so tight. It's going to all of them. So everything you put in your body has an effect. So she mentioned something about vaccinations. Nothing wrong with immunity. Everybody needs to have immunity. But what my personal belief is, let me decide what, if there's going to be any toxic chemicals or anything, what I put in my body. That's also a French crazy belief that I should know what I'm putting in my body. Because our government would like to medicate everybody and
I see. It's not that itself, it's the choice.
It's the choice. It is you could honestly do whatever you want. But I would like that choice for myself. So basically So
we got that out.
We got that out.
We don't care. We don't judge. We don't.
Right.
We're
so
just happy.
That's why I'm supposed to be all cool because we are all and I have these I'm fringe I have these crazy thoughts and now I feel I can teach people about it.
Then that's what we're about. We're live and let live and tell us what you can offer us.
And like I feel like I have a mission.
Right.
Like my mission. I mean
this might be part of the tips. You should have a mission. You got a mission. That gives you meaning.
That is everything. I mean, you have to have meaning. And let's do a little bit. I'm all over the place. I've been told I have ADD.
Nobody followed the questions.
Okay. And ADD is just.
That's why you're special.
Okay, that's exactly why. About my childhood.
Yes. So people, situations.
Yes,
I was. Things.
I'm not from here. I grew up in Panama. My mom was very loving, but also very. She knows how to put a person down. I love my mother, but everything. You're not good enough, or that's not good enough. You no. So I'm already an introvert, but with that, you kind of feel less than everybody else, and I never fit in anywhere. I'm a nerdy kid. I guess I don't know by nature, but the kids would play, and I'd like, oh no, I'd much rather be home reading comic books, which is cool now, by the way. Being a nerd is cool now, but back in the day it wasn't so cool. So I grew up with a lot of negativity, but that was her way. I don't, I'm not blaming it, but that was her way, and I never felt self-confident in anything. Passing time, graduated high school, did community college, the 10-year plan.
We're not a fast track.
Yes, it was never a fast track. I didn't know what I wanted, and I my first job was fast food, and it turned out that I was 5 years after graduation. I was still doing fast food. I was managing a place, but I never went anywhere. And I would try all these other jobs, and I pretty much had every job. Name it. Rented cars. I worked fast food. I even one of my jobs I had to dress up as a dragon, like a Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing. But I remember I had to dress up as a dragon with a headpiece that was like 8 feet high. And I know.
I want those posted on Facebook.
Yeah, I wish I had a picture of that. But I mean, I had every job imaginable, and
so no direction for a while.
So I had no direction.
How old were you?
I was already in my 25, 26.
So late bloomer.
A very late bloomer, and I tried everything. I did real estate, and I had a nice strong start there, and then But I remember one thing that happened, and Amanda told me to tell this story, so I'm gonna go ahead. I was at a Wendy's. I was running a Wendy's, and one of the things I told my employees, two of the guys, I'm like, go change the special to whatever special it was of and they're not doing a job that I was happy with, let's just say. And by the way, looking back, I wasn't happy with what I was doing, and I was kind of taking it out on everybody else. I was miserable, and I was taking it out on everybody, including my employees. So I'm telling them to do something, and I was not happy. I'm like, ah, rah, 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 rah. Curse, get down from there. I have to do everything myself. So I climbed up there, and I was putting up the letters all upset, and I fell. Ah! And I landed, and my back went into these incredible spasms. I couldn't breathe, and everyone's just sitting there looking at me. I'm like, call 911. Oh my God, I can't breathe.
And how old were you? You're in your 20s?
26 maybe. And I told, like everybody's like, okay, I'll call 911. And then one of my employees, just a little tiny little girl, she's like, well, there's the chiropractor right back here. I go to him. I can call him to see. I'm like, whatever. Just get me somewhere. Get me some relief. Get me something. So she called, and it was like 6:30. I mean, it was kind of late, 6:30 ish, and he was on his way out. But he's like, oh, I'll wait for you. I'm like, who does that? What kind of doctor is that? That's crazy. So I drove myself. Not being able to breathe, but I drove myself, and it was right around the corner. And it was this old guy that took care of me. And by the way, by saying he took care of me, he took care of me. I felt like he just it's like, whoa. And subsequent, I'm like, my gosh, I never met somebody that didn't have to talk to you to know, and you say that you're but he kind of like saw through me, I don't know. I'm like, wow, this is cool. And he was doing some crazy muscle testing things and telling me how my adrenal glands weren't working right. And I'm like, man, I was just like in awe of this man. And I remember thinking, man, that must be the coolest job ever. I wish I could do that. And I remember, I heard a voice. I really heard a voice. Like, oh gosh, this guy's crazy. I swear, I heard a voice outside of my head that said, well, why don't you? And I nearly fell off the chair, and I was like, looked around, there's nobody saying, and he was doing his thing back there. And like, okay, let's keep it together. So I kept it together through the rest of the visit. And back in those days, it was 90s, 92, 93. So we didn't have an internet. So if you needed to find something out, you went to the library. So I'm like, okay, I have no clue on how I would do this. So I went to the library and I looked through the card catalogs, and they had a special employment university section, and I'm looking through, and I found some stuff. And I was living in Miami there, and I said, and I just, okay, schools. And I wrote a letter to 3 schools. And I was going to write to all of them, but then every school had an application fee. I'm like, I can't afford all that stuff. Let's just send, and let's do the closest one to Florida, because I don't want to go far. So it was in Atlanta. So I wrote, and I didn't tell anybody anything. I felt like I shouldn't tell anybody anything, because you know what? I've never finished anything in my life ever. So why would I change, So I feel like, I don't even know if I'm going to do this, but something tells me I need to do this. So
we have to talk about that after this.
Okay.
Why we never finished anything.
Yes,
That's important.
yes. But I felt like this was, I don't know, this was different. I was excited. I couldn't sleep. I was working my other job, but it was like I wasn't there. I was in Georgia. And it just couldn't get out of my mind. So I sent my application, and the weirdest thing, I got accepted. Oh my God. Now what? Now I actually have to choose. Now I actually have to make a decision. And everything, everything, and here's another belief that I think, if you're going down the wrong path, everything is hard. Everything is hard. The minute that you find your path, it's like everything opens up and somebody's pushing you. You're like, holy crap, no, I'm not right. And it's just, okay? And that's the way it was with this. It was, there was so much tying me down. I was in a relationship. I was just so much, my job, and, and when I decided, and I kind of wanted this relationship to work out, but it wasn't, and I would have stayed because she was, I don't know, thinking back, like, you're an idiot.
So the relationship wasn't a good for you relationship.
But I wasn't good for the relationship either, because I was miserable, and she really deserved somebody that was happy with himself. Mm-hmm. So when that ended, she dumped me because she's like, she saw through everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm a wreck. But then, I would have done anything to get her back, but then here again, and I heard, I don't know, this was a different kind of a voice, but I was like feeling sorry for myself, and they're like, well, if she doesn't want you, you're not going to force her to, because I was like scheming, if I do this, maybe she will, and I was like, oh, and just like, no, why, just let it go, and if she doesn't really want you, then just let her, you don't want her either, if you're not going to force her to do anything. I'm like, So when I decided that needed to end, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing, I'm leaving, because that was a big decision, I don't think I can do that by myself, and I had all my friends and family in the city there, and so I would have to leave all that.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Way out of the comfort zone. So I'm like, all right, I'm doing this. When I said that, everything like accelerated. Like I got on like the express lane, and all these crazy changes, just like everything happened. And so I'm like, okay, I guess this is happening, and I sold my house and and I had planned everything. I had a U-Haul full of my stuff, and I was going to drive to Georgia and then come back to help my employer out, because I was considerate, and I was going to work the rest of the month, and pay rent in Georgia, but also be down there. And I took my stuff over, and then I got fired because of the night before or something, I didn't count my safe, and then some guy was actually stealing money. He got fired, but by me not counting the safe, then I got fired. Oh my gosh, worst thing that could happen, because I was planning on even transferring to Georgia, and what do I do now?
To be a Wendy's manager?
To be by then I was at Arby's, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Best thing that could have happened, because, and I'm sitting there like, well, what do I do here? And I was already here, so I just came early. I came early. I was so excited. I went to the school. I mean, it was just like the most exciting time, and everything. I could never have had a job. I could never have had a job and do the stuff that I had to do. We had to work hard. I remember it was. I had never studied that way. I was never motivated, but for some reason I was like, yeah, this is fun. This is, staying up, but there's something different here. And the difference, I think, is because there was a goal. There was no goal before. I didn't know what I really wanted. Maybe I want to do this. Maybe they make money. But this was, and I didn't even know that chiropractors actually make decent money. Here's the cool thing. I never knew that. And then when I get to school and all these guys are talking, I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of cool that they actually make a decent living. Oh, so So, and because I didn't do it for the money, because it was just something else that I felt like I, that is cool, and I want to do that, and I want to help people, and oh my gosh, that's where I want to be. So after all that, and just like anything else, if you're doing something, stick it out. Time flies, time goes.
But how did you survive? I'm just curious because you didn't have the job and you worked in the.
Well, I did what I could. I mean, and everything kind of got easy. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. Honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I took a bartending class. I had to, and I like to plan things. And in Florida, before I'm like, bartending is a good thing. You can make a lot of money in a short period of time and off hours and stuff. I had taken a bartending course. So when I got to, I did that on the weekends, and then I worked in a nightclub as a bouncer. But that's what I was doing. I was bouncing at a nightclub on the weekends.
Yeah, you have a
well,
presence.
I used to have a long trench coat and a ponytail and look mean and had a flashlight, and people didn't mess with me, and so and before you know, 3.5, 4 years go by, and they give you a paper. Hey, you can do that thing that you wanted to do. I was like, wow, that's cool. Yay. And again, it's just a paper. Then you're like, okay, now what do I do? And there's a whole other process, because I didn't know how I wanted to work. I just knew I wanted to do this, and I think now I'm pretty close to the way I really envisioned it in the beginning, because everybody has a rule in how you should work, and chiropractors need to take X-rays because I'm like, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. The way I work now, we don't take X-rays, and why? Well, do you really need another X-ray? That's a picture, number one. If I take a picture of you while you're smiling, and I say, well, look at this person, they're always happy. That's not true. It's just in that particular frame of time, yes, you were happy or you were smiling. That doesn't mean that's the way everything is. So I don't have to take an X-ray, and I do what I do and the way I want it. And sometimes that my profession kind of looks down on me, the way I work. But now can I do this to everybody, because I'm doing things the way I want, and the way that makes me happy, and the way I feel that has the most effect, to the most people, and that's my goal. My goal is to help get people closer to where they need to be as far as health wise. That's it.